Okay, I've been watching the season 5 of Dr. Stone. I don't know if you've been watching it, but that show's getting so good.
I have not watched Dr. Stone.
I have seen a couple episodes of the most recent season. I don't remember how far in I am though.
I just got caught up. It dragged me in. It's heating up, honestly.
I left off at the corn.
Hey, the corn.
The corn.
I think you would like it, Fonz. It's basically the world has an extinction event where humanity gets turned to stone over like 3,000 years. And then like one guy, like this really smart kid, wakes up because he never stopped thinking. Like your consciousness just kept going while you were frozen. And he never stopped thinking. So eventually he like woke up, and he's so smart he just started civilization over again and started unfreezing people. And yeah, so it's a pretty interesting show. They do a lot of like engineering and chemistry and yada yada.
Nice. We are planning. We're gonna cancel Netflix because they keep raising their prices like jerks. So we're kind of
They
done with
raised
it.
it again, wasn't it like $14.99?
My dude, it's like $15.49 right now,
What?
and they're talking about bumping it to like $17.99.
Oh man.
And I straight up looked at Kate. I was like, I could just buy a movie for that price. Like I don't even use Netflix that much, so how about we just get rid of it? But in place of it, I'd probably be getting that Crunchyroll account though.
Ayo.
And from what I can tell, Dr. Stone is on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it on that.
They got the
also
dub
want to
too.
maybe get a Fallout, not Fall. It's a Dropout. Sorry, a Dropout subscription.
Oh, is that
that's
the
another
College
thing.
Humor company that they like rebranded?
I believe so. I believe some of the producers were originally from College Humor. I don't know if it was a direct thing. Kind of like how Smosh kind of became a couple different things.
Minish. Welcome back to A4NB4Y, the Zelda themed podcast that is currently diving into the Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. On our last episode, we defeated the Palace of Winds and got the last element that we were searching for, the element of wind itself. And today we are on a nice easy stroll back over the Hyrule Castle. I'm sure nothing will stop us from just doing everything that we want to do, just lickety split, whammity bam. I am Cameron Hagee, a candle that smells like thunderstorms, and these are my co-hosts.
Ryan Fonzie, and I am the epic finale to Super Mario Odyssey. This song has lyrics and it's quite jarring.
Oh snap. I am Anthony, and I am a wind that just doesn't stop winding. Like Jupiter.
I am the wind blowing through your hair.
Okay. We've made our way to Halloween Town. Let's see if we can bring it back.
I don't know if you can ever go back from Halloween Town.
That's what we got to, because we got to record this episode of the finale of the Minish Cap.
This is it.
This is it,
Wait,
guys.
I thought we were playing Ocarina of Time over here
That
because
was like
we had to
5
go
seasons
through
ago.
the garden with the guards. You know what I'm saying?
I could see how you could make that mistake after our third time doing
I
it.
was like, did I put in an Ocarina of Time cartridge?
Man, this is the second time we got to go in the same way we went in last time.
I know it makes everything feel super familiar and definitely normal, and not about to flip our expectations or anything.
Yeah,
And not at all.
So we get to the elemental sanctuary pretty easily, just like last time. We imbue our sword just like last time. However, this time
with the wind element.
the sword gets a new name.
It's the Four Sword.
Get the Four Sword. Specifically, the game tells us right then and there to use it to break Vati's curse and restore the people of Hyrule.
And you know, right here,
pretty cool ability.
Right here, I was like, I had thoughts to myself, like, we just got the Four Sword. I bet you, because like we have the Four Sword and they made a game on the Four Swords Adventures, that like this was just a premonition that we were about to have to use a lot of the um Four Sword like link triggers, like those little stones. I was like, probably gonna have to use the Four Sword. I'm just feeling like these dang puzzles, we're not done with them.
I mean,
we're not done
for
with
sure
them.
Not done with them.
Yeah, we not done at all. In fact, that you could say they cranked it up to 10 with these puzzles for this part.
So one of the first things we do before we get to them puzzles is we send a charge beam right at the little instruction pamphlet of the sword of the sanctuary. There's like a little plaque there on a stone that like tells us about what's happening in this room. We just straight up destroy that just for fun. Now that we have the Four Sword, nobody needs the user manual anymore. And it ends up revealing a new room that has
the inner sanctum.
The inner sanctum. It has all of the stained glass windows from the intro to the game. And we get to see through those stained glass like that slideshow once more, but now with some new lore. At least some of it's new. So I wrote down some bullet points here just to kind of cruise through this because I didn't want to read the whole thing. Basically said, long time ago, world was about to be swallowed by shadow, and the Picori arrived with a sword and a golden light. Pretty cool. With wisdom and courage, the hero drove out that darkness, and when the shadow was defeated, the sword was enshrined with care. Golden light was embodied in Hyrule's princess, which is pretty much the only hint we get about what the golden light is and where it is. So when we get to this part on the stained glass windows, suddenly Vati shows up.
We wasn't the only one. He saw the slideshow too.
So this is straight out of the Ganondorf handbook. To break into the inner sanctum right when we do.
None of these villains do their own work in Zelda. It's just a common Zelda theme. You have maybe like Zant, and that's about it, that doing their own work out here. Ganondorf, all of them just picking up Link's slack.
I mean, you're not wrong. There is also one other guy that Vati emulates later, but we'll talk about it when we get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But in this moment, he thanks Eslo for showing him where the light is. Blasts Link and knocks us unconscious, apparently. And then he goes after Zelda. So we wake up, assumedly a few minutes, if not like, I don't know how long Link was on the floor. And Eslo kind of wakes him up and tells him that we got to start restoring people and get out of here and try to find Zelda. And so we kind of walk out of the sanctuary and the whole castle's been turned.
And this is my problem with Zelda villains, again, is you have no problem turning people to stone and killing people and stealing princesses and just committing acts of murder and evil and deeds, and you don't kill a kid. Like this guy who can stop you and has the Four Sword and is super strong and has gone all over Hyrule, and you just knock him out. I mean, maybe he thought he killed him. He didn't really check. Just move
Oh
on.
man, I thought you had less hearts than that. You've been getting them heart pieces, huh?
Darn, I only took out 4 harpies. Man, I'm weak.
I could have swore when you fell down, you looked like you died. Thought I had this in the bag. I think when we do eventually run into him again, he says something along the lines of, "Gee, you really are persistent." So maybe he really did think that he knocked us out for real, for real.
Yeah, I mean, he says he'll put you down for good the second time, but I was just like, why didn't you just do that the first time? You would have had this in the bag.
Right. You could have turned us into stone like you did with Zelda. Like, what? Why is your plan so bad? He's just too excited to get to his next steps.
Yeah.
He's chronically underestimating us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right out of the Ganondorf playbook, you know. Sneaking
true.
into the intersect them
Exactly.
and then chronically underestimating
And
it.
see, this guy came before Ganondorf because he's technically like the first villain. So I think Ganondorf's reading about him in the history books.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
but those the stained glass windows showed the shadow that almost took over Hyrule in the past, and that looked an awful lot like Ganon. Specifically Beast Ganon.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't hoping to play any timeline games tonight, to be honest.
Oh, nah, me neither. Just saying.
Figure that stuff out. Yeah, so we first couple stone people we find are some guards and Minister Potho, who tells us that Vati took Zelda to the top of the castle. And so we start trying to make our way there, but first we got to go through the basement for whatever reason. It's like a dungeon area, a lot of flame balls, spinning wheels, holes to fall through that are kind of the key to this whole area, because we got to find a way to be Minish and then fall through the floor as a Minish and then find the king locked up in prison. It's a whole thing.
It is. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. I mean, when you release the king from being stone, which is kind of like, Vati took over the appearance of the king. So then it became like, well, what happened to the real king? And luckily he wasn't dead. He was just turned to stone in a dungeon somewhere.
Before we get to the end there, did you guys have any troubles like with this mini dungeon part here?
I definitely circled the mini dungeon a few times before I figured out how to get to the king this time around.
Because there's like a room that's split in half, and on the left side you have a Minish shrinker machine, and then on the right there's this open room with like some fireballs walking around. And if you go all the way around the dungeon, you'll get to this room that has a bunch of like mice ninjas in it,
Oh,
and
the
you kill all
Keatons?
of them. Yeah, the Keatons, and you kill all them, and it's a dead end.
Yeah,
And I
That's
was like,
later.
that's right after this that we're talking about with the king.
no,
But
that's right
yes,
here, isn't it?
No, we don't get to the other
it's
side of that room till after we talk to the king and we get the king's
Yeah.
key.
the
And I think we
Oh,
need
I
to
did
get
this
one
before
other
the
small
king.
key.
You can't get to the Keaton room until you talk to the king.
Yeah.
It's just a sequence. Like you're talking about like the very next thing. It's all
Okay.
good. Yeah. But I had trouble in the dungeon too. One thing I just want to mention before we get to the Keaton room, is the that the king basically says, "Oh, we gotta help Zelda," and then it's like, "Wait a minute, I'll probably just slow you down. I'm getting pretty old, so I would only hold you back." And he's like, "Here, take this key. It's up to you to save Zelda. We all have to just trust in you now," which was an interesting conversation, because it's like he's basically saying like, "I'm not even gonna leave this room. I'm just gonna chill here and wait for you to figure it out." It's like, okay, thanks, sir. Figured he would at least like give us a map or something, but whatever. um So yeah, so then we get to all these other crazy rooms. We learn that we have to reflect some cannon shots.
We also
Uh,
see a brand new thing of false doors.
oh yeah, doors that'll just straight up fall on you.
Yeah, there's two other locked doors after we talk to the king that we, could go through, but when you try to even just walk up to it, it kind of just tries to fall on top of you. And the first time it did actually hit me, I was like, "Oh, what the heck?"
Yeah, that was a surprise. After a whole game of no false doors, it was really weird to see one at the end.
And there was only, I think, these two. There was these two
Right.
right here, and then there was not even another one throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Odd choice, but I'm here for it.
So, what do you guys think of the cannon puzzles before we get to that Keaton room? Like where the just cannons just lined up firing, and you have to get all 4 links and like reflect all of the cannons back.
The first one was mad easy, and it was pretty obvious what you had to do, especially since Ezlo just straight stopped you and was like, "Hey, we should reflect these," like in the middle of the room. But the second one was a little more on the annoying side because of how you had to reflect them.
Yeah, there were like
That's the
cannons
one right
coming
before
from
the Keaton room.
yeah, there were cannons coming from both directions, and there was a square of duplicators, and I thought I'd be clever and try to like get more time to hit 2 of the cannonballs by like having my links kind of staggered, but I was actually making the problem way harder by doing that, and the solution was just to have a straight line of links and just put them on one side of the aisle, and then you'd have more because then you could swing one way and then you have enough time to turn around and swing the other way.
I just did I did a spin attack on all of them.
That also can work, yeah. So I just had some hiccups with that, but nothing critical, like I wasn't, having to leave to get more fairies and come back or anything. But yeah, we get to the room of vexation. It's just full of Keatons. And I'm gonna say I circled these floors like at least one, like I got to this room, defeated all the Keatons, had a moment of like, there's nothing in this room. Like, what was I supposed to get here? They never just have pointless rooms that are just dead ends like this. And I walked across the left wall and used the sword trick to ding the wall, and there was no change in the noise. So I left the room. Like, I did it on all the walls, but, the left was the one I was most suspicious of because the map showed another room. So I was like, maybe there's supposed to be a way to get through here. So I left and I went all the way back into the dungeon where the king was before I was like, there's no way I'm supposed to come back here. Like, what did I miss? And went all the way back up and then just started trying stuff until I found a bomb spot by actually bombing because the sword trick didn't work. I was so mad.
Yeah, this part was annoying. It's the one part in this whole dungeon I just looked up the walkthrough because I probably should have looked at the map and saw that there was a room to the side of it, but I wasn't thinking about that. So I did try to bomb a couple random spots of the walls in that room, but I'm like, instead of just exhausting 20 minutes in every single bomb that I have to the point I have to go get more, I'm just gonna look this up because I know it's something kind of annoying. Like I just had that feeling. And sure enough, there's absolutely no way to tell that that wall is where you have to bomb unless you remembered the previous room and that there was a bomb wall down there, but then you wouldn't really know that this was the other side of that room. I don't know. I don't think it was telegraphed very well at this part.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
I
map.
had a
Go ahead.
I had to put this down for a while and come back to the game because I was playing this and then I just put it down. I was so frustrated. I like left this and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get back to this later.
Yeah.
And I came
I
back to it and like I don't know, it was just natural. Like I just was walking around. I saw the Minish Cap thing. I was looking around that room and I actually saw the bomb crack in the wall. And I went around to the Keaton room, blew it up, and it worked like a charm. And I was like, why would they not put like an arrow or telegraph that more?
yeah. I That was weird because when you look at the map, like it showed me that I had been in the room that I was trying to get into before. And so I was like, what? Like, how does that make any sense? But it didn't occur to me to like even go check what the other side looked like. I think eventually after I was like almost backtracked to the dungeon, like I was where the king was basically, I was like, I played this game before, like not that many years ago. I'm like, I should just expect some nonsense. So I went back and just started bombing. I was like, this game does this every once in a while where it's just like, it just does not telegraph well. And in fact, like takes certain hints away. Like the sword trick really should have worked and it just didn't. Um, and that's kind of frustrating because they're kind of breaking some of the known formulas of Zelda to do that. But if they do show you the room, then I guess that's enough. But that's still like such an annoying backtrack to get the information you need.
What's so hard about just making the wall look bombable?
Right.
Goodness. I mean,
Too
you can
easy.
even make it a little more just like a discoloration spot in the wall or something. It doesn't have to be like a bunch of crumbliness that's like the most as soon as you walk in the room you exactly know what you have to do. It could just be a slight discoloration in the wall or something, but something.
Yeah.
I
This
don't know.
is officially the I don't know. I don't want to say the smartest Link of all the Links we've played as, but clearly the one that was asked to deal with the most nonsense. Kind of takes the cake with the frustration he'd felt. Can you imagine? He'd just been like, you know what? I guess we lost. Bati, you win. I don't know.
Can't
It was
find
as
that
good as
wall.
Keaton room. It's all over for Hyrule. All right, so we do eventually get through this ridiculous room. And we find, I mean, the next thing I have noted here is the Dark Nut and Throne Room. I thought that was a pretty cool
Yeah.
fight. It wasn't like super hard or anything, but the Throne Room itself was just interesting. And
But it will be.
yeah, so you can push the throne to the side and get a secret entrance. There's also like a treasure chest with the compass, I think, right next to it. I actually missed the compass. Went through the whole underground passage, came up, went back to the other room, saw the compass, and was like, "Are you serious?" And like saw the treasure chest, and just had a moment of like, I really gotta backtrack for whatever that chest is. Luckily, they didn't respawn any of the enemies in the underground tunnel, so it was just an easy walk. But yeah, that was just annoying. I think you were supposed to find the compass first, but again, having just like the vague memory of having played this before, I was like, I know I can move that throne.
It also vibrated to give you a.
Yeah.
See, they'll make the throne vibrate to be like, hey, look at this. But you know, that wall, though,
Forget about it.
forget about it. And it's not like you even really needed the compass anyways, but, you know, good to have.
Right. So, yeah, we make our way into the what I consider the main castle, which is like everything after the throne room. This is a section where we gotta like fly around the outside of the castle, to get in through different areas. This is like, I mean, eventually when you get far enough in, you kind of unlock a whole gauntlet of dark nuts,
Yeah, that was a thing.
and that's pretty wild.
The duplicator puzzles in this section, some of them were okay, but some of them were just downright nasty. So like the one that I think is like either right after or right before the where you're floating on the outside of the castle, you have to like walk down this ramp after duplicating with what were they called? Oh yeah, the guru bars, which are just the flame balls. And you have to walk down that ramp and then like perfectly time to like center yourself to push the block down to get out. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that was so annoying.
I did that right away without any struggle.
Well,
Yeah,
you
I
got a
think
good
I had
D-pad.
to take 2 or 3 passes at that one. It was it's definitely annoying, especially because there was like a great path above you too, so your view was kind of hindered of the whole situation.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot there to make it more annoying than it needed to be.
I definitely had to sit there for an extra like 10 seconds just to time it perfectly, because if you didn't time it perfectly, then that you can't do it. It's all about a timing, or all
Yeah.
about the timing.
For me, I was fighting myself.
Oh, and your controls.
Yeah. Rather, I was fighting the phone screen being flat.
Gotcha.
I don't think we actually see this one until a bit later, but since we're talking about these puzzles, there was one later that had a bunch of blocks on like the left and the right side of the room, and it at the very bottom it just had 4 that were kind of spaced apart like a directional pad on a game system. And I
Yeah.
love how it just lets you skip that entire thing and just stand in the middle of all of them and do one spin attack and do it.
Nice.
You don't need a single extra link for that.
Broken game
I
mechanics.
I did not even try that, to be honest. I think
It's
I
great.
tried doing the D-pad in the wrong direction, and it was just too hard to get to this thing. So then I went and like put it the other way, and it was just fine. And I was like, "Oh, all right." I don't even know if I used all the links properly. Like I might have like side slashed a couple of the switches just out of like being close enough, and it worked. But yeah, no, I don't remember. I don't remember cheat like just standing in the middle and doing a full swing like that. Makes sense.
Yeah, they're all like just barely close enough that you can hit them with your sword if you're right in the middle.
Nice. All right. So, some other cool puzzles that kind of happen. Uh, there's these random rooms that have, uh, like, it's I think the whole floor is blue, and you have to continuously step on all the switches to make them all red.
Mm-hmm.
Reminded me
I
of
think
the
that might have even
puzzles out
been
of
from earlier
Pokemon.
in the castle, and I just remembered it now. But
There's
yeah,
2 of them. There's one kind of midway through, and there's one towards the end.
gotcha.
But they remind me of like I think it was what Pokemon Gen 3, the last dungeon, the water dungeon in Sutopolis. You had to do the ice, where you have to walk on each thing of ice one time to get to the end. It's like the exact same thing.
Oh yeah,
You just can't re-walk on any spots.
I do remember that vaguely.
Yeah.
I only played Gen 3 once, and then like years later, I put the cartridge in and my data was corrupt, and then I never played it again.
No.
Had like 3 Pokemon that I had never seen before, and they were all random levels, and I was like, yeah, this isn't how I left this game at all. It's reading some garbage information right now.
Trash.
And then I sold that game, but don't tell nobody.
Oh no. I think you just did.
Well, I deleted the save file and started a new game, and it seemed to work fine then. And I was like, okay, maybe it was just the save data that was messed up, and maybe it's fine. Either way, I didn't want to play the whole game again, so I was like, yeah, I'm getting rid of this.
There was also that room in this temple, if we can call it that, where you had to grab like one of the bomb bombs that was on the sides of the room with the gust jar and shoot it at the blocks. That was an interesting one.
That was fun.
Yeah.
How did you guys fare against the Dark Knight Gauntlet?
I think I took out a couple of the rooms, and then they gave me a teleporter, so I jumped back and just got some fairies. Right outside the like the elemental sanctuary, there was a bombable wall that led right into a room with a bunch of pots, and 2 of those pots were fairies, maybe even 3 of them. I think it's just 2 though. And then the other side was like bombs and arrows. So I
Yeah.
definitely went back and restocked at least once to get through all this. And then I think I restocked again before going into the next section. So I did okay. It was a lot of just running in circles around groups of enemies because they send like 2 at a time on a couple of these rooms. And yeah, if by the end of it you just kind of get a rhythm down, and then Dark Nuts become kind of a basic enemy.
I remembered one of you guys said you could just jump over them, and so I was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy combat.
Yeah,
You don't get them from the back like every time, but it works a good percentage of the time.
And you basically can't get hit while you're doing it unless they swing before you jump.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
And it seems like if there's 2 of them, they kind of interrupt each other sometimes, which is nice.
Yeah, they don't both go so aggro that you just can't do anything.
Yeah.
Unlike the room with those ghosts.
Yeah?
Yeah. You guys know them room with them 4 ghosts? I had one of those rooms where them things just kept jumping on me one after another. I think I got stun locked by like 6 of them in a row. As soon as one got off me, another one's like, "Oh, hey, bud," and then I got him off, and another one's like, "Oh, hey," and it just kept going. And I'm like, "Am I gonna lose all of my hearts to just me not being able to do anything? As these things just take turns with me?" Like,
were they Gibdos or?
No, they were those one-eyed ghosts with the tongue sticking out.
Those guys, the guineas, right? Okay, yeah.
The first time I ran into him is I think there was 2 rooms with them. I had no trouble whatsoever. I don't even think I got hit once. And then the second time I got hit 1 time and they just kept going.
The wombo combo.
Yeah, they wombo comboed me. I probably lost like 6 or 7 hearts from the wombo.
Yikes. Sorry.
I was getting frustrated. It is what it is.
Yeah. So it's an epic battle through the castle.
I will say, I don't know if you guys knew about this, because I knew about this from, if you guys remember this from A Link to the Past, they kept the same mechanic, but there's a room, I don't remember what Dark Nut room it is. It's either the final Dark Nut room or the second Dark Nut room. But there's a room that has a bunch of those little like floaty guys that are like circling around the room. And if you take a boomerang or the magic boomerang and hit them with it, they turn into a fairy. And there's like a good 6 of them. So you can get like a full up on fairies in that spot.
Huh.
It was the same. I think Link to the Past did that too, but I don't think there was a magic boomerang in Link to the Past.
Yeah, Link to the Past used magic powder, so maybe it's because it's a magic boomerang they did that.
Weird, the regular boomerang works too.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know then.
So it was
maybe they
cool.
just expected you would have the magic boomerang, so they thought it was justified.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a full up on all my fairies. Used my potion just to put another fairy in it. And I was like, I'm good to go.
Nice.
I totally forgot about that.
I'm trying to remember how this all goes, because every time you defeat like a room of Dark Nuts, you kind of unlock a way to a tower, like in the corner of the place. And I remember like you have to undo a set of switches or something in order for the final room to be unlocked. I think you have to get keys, right? There's a key in each one, and then
you need 4 keys to unlock the key blocks so that you can push the big 4-link puzzle block in order to get to the big key.
Gotcha.
And in order to get to each one of those rooms, like you said, you have to defeat a different either single or double Dark Nut room in order to get to it, and then possibly like another puzzle on top of that, like a very short puzzle.
And I actually think, wasn't this that final section as well, before the final battle of the Dark Nuts, where you hear Vati and he's like, you'll have to move quick, Link, or like the bell is tolling, and after 3 tolls, Zelda's light force will be absorbed.
The Tri-Nut fight.
once we get all the key blocks and we move the big block out of the way, then we go into this final gauntlet run, and it is they give you a big old fake sense of urgency by telling you that
Yeah.
the bell's gonna toll, and 3 times he'll be done with his ceremony, which is yeah, when we get there, we'll see what kind of ceremony he's performing, but yeah, basically he thinks he's in the clear as long as he can keep us back long enough. So this first room, I'm pretty sure we can kind of just dash with our sword forward and get through. There's a bunch of Keatons in the way, but it's just a big old hallway. So not a huge deal. And then so we get past all these Keatons and there's one chime. And then we have to fight 3 Dark Nuts all at once. And that's kind of like the boss before the boss, but just as a spoiler, it's just all bosses all the way down here on out. So the triple Dark Nut fight is right before the second chime. And then we get into the room with Aghanim, or should I say Vati, which is kind of like doing an Aghanim right now. He's got Zelda like just laying on a table, and he's even got like his hands in the air like he's doing the same exact ceremony, which is kind of like, it was weird to see. And he basically gets interrupted and turns around. He's like, just a few more moments and the ceremony would have been complete. And then, he says he's going to attack with what of the light force he has absorbed already. So he's like, I wasn't able to get the full thing, but I think what I have is sufficient. So he sends Link through a trap door. And part of me sitting there like, you could have just activated the trap door and then finished your ceremony, my guy. Like, what are you doing?
Nah, he's gotta see, he learned from his mistake of not putting you down. This is what I'm talking about. He's like, I gotta finish this guy now.
I just thought it was funny that like he had a way to buy the time he probably needed it and just didn't. I don't know.
Because
Didn't
we would have
use
had to run up like the whole dungeon again to get to him, and he probably would have been done.
Yeah. But instead, what happens is he comes and meets us, because it seems like the trapdoor sends us into the triple Dark Nut room again for some reason, like one room back, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so Vati comes and attacks us in a transformed state. One of many, as we'll soon find out. Yeah. How'd you guys feel about phase 1?
It was,
You know.
I got Ember Knights vibes from this phase. It was pretty fun, honestly, in terms of boss fights.
Yeah. Sorry, you said that Ember Knights vibes. I kind of feel like Vati probably inspired the main villain of Ember Knights.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that like that style of like game, I think this is a really good fight for like that basis. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
So it's pretty cool. I just describe it just in case, we have listeners who haven't actually played the game and want to know what it's like. Basically, Vati shows up, turns into this caped. I don't even know.
Like Girahim,
Like,
almost.
yeah, he's like 3 times as tall as he normally is, and doesn't exactly look like himself. He has this cape with like an eyeball hidden under it. And he starts sending out these little eyes that fly in a circle around him.
He got the tertian oculus, right, Cam?
Yeah.
So we have to defeat the floating eyes before he'll be exposed, and then you can run up and hit him. After once doing this, the next set of eyes will have like a shield that's just made out of some kind of dark matter. And you have to use the gust jar to remove that shield before destroying the eyes and just continuing the process from there. The little eyes that float around like will just straight up shoot lasers as well every once in a while. So a lot to like be careful
You
of.
just see like a Hyrulean like advertisement. Do you have dark matter in your home? Well, get the Gust jar for 13 rupees and you can suck away all the dark matter in your home that you need. Just casual
Okay.
dark matter appearing out of nowhere.
And it being defeated by a jar.
Little vacuum.
Right. The vacuous space within this jar is the only thing powerful enough that even dark matter can't escape it. Maze. Yeah. So we do this fight. It's definitely like the final boss fight. At least it feels like the final boss fight. So you're like, oh yeah, man, I got this. I guess we just beat the game for sure, for sure. When all of a sudden Vati decides that then that's not how this is gonna go, and transports us to the red dimension with his genjutsu. Like I don't know what this new boss arena is that he brings us to, but
We
also
in Jabu Jabu now.
yeah, he turned into like a big flying head with like a big eye, but then 4 or 8 secondary eyes around the big eye.
He turned into a
Um,
Millennium Object from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, he turned into like an abyss watcher. Like what is happening? Don't understand.
It's didn't he say he wanted to be a god? This just his god form, I
He
guess. This
did,
is what he wanted.
yeah,
He envisioned his god form to be an eye surrounded by more eyes.
right. I forgot to mention that when he first says a mere 3 more chimes of the bell, and the ceremony come to an end, I will become like a god. Zelda will be a cold dead stone. So he was going to take all the life force such that he'd become like the all powerful whatever. And I guess this is like a precursor to that. He's become some kind of void being. A pleasant existence. I think he's on the right track. I think he's really onto something with this plan.
Yeah. He must have talked to Praxis in the break room.
We got to use our 4 swords charging ability to take him down a notch.
Yeah, we gotta duplicate ourselves. Well, actually, we gotta shoot the little eye things that are around him to figure out which ones are vulnerable, and then we gotta step into the duplicator to match the vulnerable eyes, and then run up and slash them all at once. And when that happens, you get a big old stun, and you can just spam on that guy. So this is what the twin Georg was training us for. Was for this moment right here.
And you have to actually shoot every single one of the eyes too, to reveal it to be red. If you even skip one and try to do it, it won't work.
Yeah.
But after a few rounds of this, meanwhile, he's like dropping stuff out of the sky, and there's just like random spots on the ground that become no good for your clones and stuff like that. So it's a frustrating fight, to be sure, but also not like the worst it's gonna get. But we defeat it, we win, and we get what basically feels very much like the end of the game. We save Zelda, and we're able to turn her back to normal.
Yeah, he legit explodes. All right, just so everyone has a frame of reference, he cries out and he explodes. And so like generally when a villain explodes, that's supposed to be it.
Especially in Zelda games.
Right. Like there's no wounded Vati on the ground. Like it's just he gone. He gone. Like he's in a different dimension and he's dead. And so like we come back to the real world and save Zelda. But then the castle starts collapsing. And we got to run out of here, but it's not like a huge deal. Like I was able to stop and go back to my fairy room and get more fairies and stuff while the place was collapsing because it's not actually collapsing, it's just kind of music, which was interesting. And this whole script is straight out of Ocarina of Time. Like this is like, all right, castle's collapsing, we got to get out of here. When suddenly, at the end of our run, we get a return of the villain, and so we have to fight Vati one more time in probably what is one of the most annoying fights.
He also brings us to a different dimension. This is the third dimension that he brings us to.
Yeah.
He's chock full of them.
This one, I mean, of all the final bosses in Zelda game, I mean, I think Skyward Sword, before I knew how to do that fight, was like terrible. But last time I played, I knew what I was doing, so it wasn't that bad. This is bad. This is a bad fight. I don't like it.
Yeah, this was very annoying.
It just took me a while to figure out initially. Once you get going, it's fine. It's easy once you get going. Figuring out what you need to do at first is just like there's nothing. There's like nothing. Like what do you do? They don't tell you what to do. They're just like, well, you have like an arsenal, just figure something out. Use them all. Basically is
Hey,
what the developers were saying.
like I ran around and tried to figure out damage, and at some point, Esla was like, "Well, you have a bunch of stuff. Like maybe one of your gizmos will figure it out." I'm
You have
like,
a bunch of stuff.
Tesla, not helpful. And
Hmm.
like the answer was the Cane Apache, and
Who
I
knew
was like,
Bob Pachi would finish
of
it out?
of
You gotta
course it's
flex
Cane
them
Apache.
air potchies on them.
Yeah.
And the dumb thing is I think I probably used the Cane Apache and didn't realize what happened because it doesn't not a whole lot visually like you know. So, all right. So Vachi is once again like an orb, a different looking orb. Now he's got horns on his head. Ooh boy, right? He doesn't have the little eyes around him. He's got two arms and
Like
he's
bongo
got
bongo
like an
arms.
eye necklace. He's got eye bling in front of him. Don't the design is really something. And so he sends these arms through the void to come at you. He just like sticks them into the ground and through a portal, and they kind of come up somewhere else on the map and try to attack you. And so if you hit one with the Cane Apache, it stands straight up, and there's a little itty bitty door on the bottom part of the arm. So what you gotta do is you gotta hit the arm with the Pachi stick, and then go be little and run inside the arm to go look for a mini Vati. Like you go inside and there's just a bunch of these little orbs flying around. And one of them will be looking in all kinds of directions instead of just having a static eye. And if you find the one that's got its eye moving all around, attack that one immediately, and that's how you like do damage to this guy at first.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous because it gets worse. Because the second time you do this, you go in and the room is dark. So not only do you got to find this stinking eye that's looking around, but also if you don't have your lantern out already, you're gonna be fumbling around trying to just see what you're doing, pulling out the lantern. And odds are, if you're like me, you're gonna run out of time at least once doing this nonsense. So then you gotta go try to do it again, all the while you're getting attacked, even while you're tiny. So it's too much. It's like Mothula. Like it's just there's too much going on. Actually, I have that note. I have the Mothula in my notes, that comment for like the final phase of this, because as much as this is rough, after you defeat the arms, uh suddenly Vati just becomes like an Enter the Gungeon boss. It's just the four eyes on his necklace shoot out little beams that you got to reflect back, but only if you have all four links and like you have them in a line.
And this is bugged beyond belief, at
And
least for me.
there's just stuff coming at you from all directions, and there's a rhythm where like he can shoot a big old laser that you can't do anything about, and the orbs that you have to hit back, but they're not in sync with each other. So you have to like time to not be in the firing line of one, but also be there for the reflection part for the other. And that timing is different every time it happens. So it is just painful. It's just painful.
To add on to that, and I don't know if this happened to you guys, but like getting to the reflection part was fine. And then lining it up. So I noticed if you're too close to the eyes when you line it up and you reflect it back, they don't count.
Oof.
So like if you're like maybe like I don't know, I'll use Link as a distance of measurement. If you're like a link and a half to 2 links away from him when you reflect it back, he it just doesn't count. Like the I don't know what the code like doesn't register in his hitbox that like anything happened. I'm like, okay, I just wanted to be up in his face when I beat him, but I guess I can't. So like I backed up a little bit and I did the same thing the next time and like the next few times. Apparently I was like too far left or too far right. So when I reflected them, it hit 3 of them, but didn't hit 4. And I'm like, if it's a straight line and my links are in a straight line and I hit the swords all in the same direction, how did it only hit 3 of the 4 dudes or his eyes? I don't understand. So I had that
Yeah,
happen to me probably like 5 times.
I was having an issue where I'd get all my links lined up and they would send the orbs at me and then I would swing and instead of them returning directly back to Vati, they would shoot off on an angle and miss him completely.
Huh.
And I was like, that's cool. Glad that we have to time this like we're playing baseball as well, because
Maybe that's what's happened to the one that I add. Just that one link. He never went to baseball training.
this game. So it's a hard fought victory at the end of this one.
It is.
But we do win. We take down the purple bull cyclops thing, if you can call it that. I don't know if the little eyes count or not. And we return to Zelda. Because we defeated Vati, the curse on Aslo is lifted. He introduces himself as the master of Minish lore and sorcery. It's a pretty dope title. Sometimes I like to think of myself as a master of Minish lore and sorcery. Goodness. But basically the Minish Cap that he created is kind of it's still available. So what they decide is that because Zelda has a just heart, that if she wears the cap, she can fix basically everything that Eslo did to mess things up. And basically does just that. And then, she performs what I believe the Eslo calls a miracle or something like that. Like he's basically like, oh, because of her pure heart, like with it in her use, she basically performed a miracle. I was like, huh, interesting phrasing. But she fixes the castle and then the hat kind of falls apart because of all of the power that went through it. Like it just couldn't handle it. So no more hat, which is convenient for the future of these games. And so Aslos gives his farewells and gives Link a regular hat as a gift. And makes a comment about how he's never seen Link wear a hat before because he always was that.
Because he's been the hat.
Yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah. So Aslo shrinks down. There's the Picori door is going to be closing and it only opens once every century, so he's got to leave. Basically just calling back to the beginning of the game and this kind of all being related to the Picori festival. And so he walks through the door as a Minish, and then the credits roll, and that's the end of the game.
Woo.
No big celebration in the streets for this one. I don't know.
I wanted to see my boy Link get some like, congratulations from the king and everyone.
Well, I'm sorry. But I don't think even the credits show that. I think they just show like concept art and events that you remember from the game.
You don't even know if everybody that went through all this stuff with you even remembers what happened after Zelda's Miracle. Everybody could have forgot. It could be like the Picori Festival just happened and Vati never even showed up is what everyone remembers. We don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is possible. That would be very I don't know. that'd be rough. But not unlike other Zelda games where stuff like that happens all the time.
Like a Spider-Man, was it No Way Home or something like that? they did that plot line.
Oh yeah, they did. But I was thinking like Ocarina of Time when you go back to being a kid. Like that's kind
Yeah.
of that vibe.
Something I found interesting. I was watching YouTube videos and I saw a video by a Zelda content creator. I can't remember who it was, but he said there was like an interview with one of the creative directors of Tears of the Kingdom, and if you look at the photos I posted in private chat, I mean, I guess some of them like have a little bit to do with it, but he basically said there was like something in the interview. There was a question asked, like, so like, how did you initially come up with like the design for the Zonai in Tears of the Kingdom? And he said that he had a callback to the way that the Minish looked and how they're like I don't know, I think he used the word snout, like how they had like a snout and like long ears, and they just looked
Yeah,
very inviting and friendly and like you wanted to be their friend, he said. And so that's kind of where they got the inspiration from how he designed Rauru and Minoru was based off the facial features of the Minish. And I look at it and I guess I don't see
I
it in
could see it.
Vati, but in like the normal like forest Minish and like them, you can see like the same snout. They have like the animal features, and I was like, that's actually pretty cool. They did a callback to that.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see if you put like a red cap on Raru, suddenly he'd be like a Minish Elder.
Yeah, I want to see a fan art of that now. Someone do something about Minish Rauru.
I might be making a pin of that. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but yeah, no, that's cool. I kind of wonder why Vati doesn't look that way. I wonder if that was part of his glow up or whatever. I don't remember the flashback. He didn't look like a regular Minish either, though. So maybe he just always wanted to be distinct because either that or he's not a true Minish and he was shrunk at some point and just kind of infiltrated. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's photos online of Vati as a Minish, but I don't know if that's legit or not.
So weird. But yeah, guys, this was the Minish Cap. We did it. We beat it. We finished it. More like finish cap, am I right?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna let you guys know my completion percentage probably hanging out at around like 31%, give or take.
Okay. I think I had like 7 or 8 more kinstones left at the end of this. And I went and gave my shield to the big Goron to chew on, but he doesn't give it back immediately, so I just stopped playing. I was like, nah, I'm not waiting for that. So I have a shieldless Link just chilling somewhere.
Yeah, I think I did like the main story plus like 3 or 4 extra quests,
Yeah.
give or take.
It's a fun game. I can't say that I honestly felt a ton of depth of the story in this game. I mean, I did appreciate that they at least like set it up really well in the beginning. But then I feel like after we started collecting elements, it just became a MacGuffin chain. It just was like, oh, let's just find the next element. Let's just find the next element. And so the story didn't really move a whole lot after that point. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what I feel like the theme of the story is, but I feel like the world building was really good. You know, like if I had to give it kind of an overview review, right? Like I think that the world itself and the visuals of the game are very well designed to make this always feel like you're on a grand adventure even when you're normal size, you know. But then you go minish size and it's like, oh wow, this world is like huge by being small. Like it I don't know, it's just there's a lot of there's a lot of art depth to it without there being a lot of like story depth. So I don't know. I appreciate the game. Definitely great for like a Game Boy game, you know? Like I wouldn't put it on the same tier as like a Link to the Past, but I think it's definitely got a lot of great callbacks to things like Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time. Even has some callbacks kind of to A Link to the Past that I appreciate. But I feel like this is one of the games that kind of relies on references to other Zelda games a little more than it relies on any other outside information. The only exceptions to that being like the Shoemaker or, like, well, yeah, the other one was the fairy fountain, like throwing something in and then being honest about what happened and that, like sometimes they had a couple of those things mixed in, but for the most part, it was a very callbacky kind of game. Like the Minish species and that whole subplot of shrinking was a really fun novel element to the game, and I actually really do like how that was all worked in and how the Minish kind of like were built into a bunch of different environments as well. But yeah, I don't know. Like at the end, I didn't really have like a message to walk away with. It just felt like, oh, we won. Cool.
Don't make any omnipotent hats.
Yeah. Playing with power is dangerous, but I mean, that's a pretty consistent theme with Zelda as well. It's like everywhere in this series.
Facts.
There's always someone power hungry that we're just trying to like take out with courage and wisdom. I don't know. What'd you guys get out of this? Like, what were your takeaways?
I think for a Game Boy game, the level of depth and the level of content that they provided for the game was insane. It was almost like it's basically a 2D open world with the amount of content they had, like just a baby Dark Souls, if you will. And I thought that was really cool. I didn't do half the stuff that I could have, but the actual gameplay, I kind of felt a little like zoned out halfway through. Not in terms of like gameplay, I guess, or the world building or anything, but is like the story. I felt not connected to the game, and it was hard to like when we were going through like the Fortress of Winds area, and then kind of leading all around to like the Temple of Droplets. The story wasn't really picking up or doing anything, and it was just kind of like. Other than that, I really enjoyed the rest of the game.
Yeah. It definitely felt like there were times where the driving force was just Eslo telling us what to do. Like it was like, oh, next we got to go to this temple, or next we got to talk to this person. And it's like, okay, I guess. One of the things, like if I was just gonna compare it just to Ocarina of Time as a Kid Link, like without even talking about the adult stuff, like if you just look at the first 3 dungeons, we know that we need to go find these 3 gemstones. We don't know who has it, what the importance it is of it to that culture, or like how exactly things are going to turn out when we show up. Whereas in this game, it's like, oh, the elements are scattered. We're going to have to go to this corner of the map, and then you get there and you meet some, like usually Minish, but not always. And they're just kind of like, oh yeah, you probably have to go through the dungeon to get that. So just, go out to the left and there's a dungeon out there. You can go ahead and take care of that and get it. Like, seriously, that's what they kind of do. They're like, oh, if you want that, you're going to have to go through the dungeon. Like, there's no significance to the elements other than that it's what you need. Like, that's kind of the whole thing, is like, we know we need it, so we just got to go get it, and someone's going to tell us where to. But in Ocarina of Time, like, the first one's given to you almost like you inherit it as your tree is dying, right? And you're like, okay. Also, sorry, I have an alarm set for 11:45. Like, so the one you almost inherit it as your father tree is dying, and then you are given it with a mission to go talk to the princess, who then says, okay, we're going to need all 3 in order to get to, like, in order to stop this political event from happening poorly. So she kind of sends you off on the next few, and when you get to, like, the Gorons, it turns out that they're under attack, basically, like they're under siege, and they need help getting food. So they send you into the caves, like, not necessarily to get the gem, but to help, like, open things up and solve their problems. So you do all that, and, like, you get the stone as a thanks for being an actual ally in this whole situation. And then you go over to the Zoras, and it's like, turns out that the daughter has the gem. It's a family heirloom, and she's, like, currently in the middle of trying to save their deity from a sickness, and there's, like, a whole subplot that goes on where you end up building relationships with all these people. So, like, it's just like this story by comparison feels kind of shallow. Like, as I said, it seems like a chain of MacGuffins. It's just like, oh, we need the thing, let's go get the thing. Let's talk to the NPCs. What do the NPCs say? Oh, the NPCs say, oh, you want the thing? It's over there. Like, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what's the point? You know? I don't know. That's my feeling on it. I was gonna save that for the rank and recap, but it's fine.
100% agree.
But it was a fun game.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was very fun. It was fun, and it was pretty.
I think the thing they did right was all of the gadgets. The gadgets in this game, or the tools, I think and the way that they made you use them for the environment, and they kept incorporating them. It wasn't like you got a tool like in some Zelda games, and then you use that tool for, like, that dungeon, and then you never use it again for any other dungeon for, like, the next, like, 5 dungeons in the game. So I really like that they did that, and, like, honestly, I think I'll never forget Bob Pachi. I'm never gonna forget about him.
I mean, this is a Fujibayashi game, and I feel like that thinking of, like, mechanics first, like, let's make sure the game is fun, and then, like, story just is kind of by the wayside. I mean, that's the same problem we had with Tears of the Kingdom, to be honest. But it's a very fun game, and the items, I will say, are top tier. Like, I think Cane Apache, Gus Char, stinking Rock's Cape, just everything was fun to use, and none of it was obsolete at the end. Like, you needed all of it to get through the last dungeon. So I thought that was really well done.
Except your shield. You didn't need your shield for the vast majority of the game if you didn't want to use it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, because most Zelda games, the shield is just kind of always there. This is one of the only Zelda games where the shield is, like, its own fully equipable and unequipable item. It's not just like, oh, press this button to use your shield no matter what. It's always there attached to this button. You could just straight go, I don't need to equip that again, and play, 15 hours straight of no shield.
It's very much like hey, if you want to just do straight up combat, this is a nice supplement to have, but you never really need it. Like, okay. It's a gift from Zelda.
It's just kind of a funny place for the shield to get relegated to, and then also to beat the game and then go get the upgraded mirror shield when you really have absolutely no use for it at that point. Like, nice.
So yeah, that's our game. So yeah, next episode will be our rank and recap and / what we actually haven't done a ranking in a while, so we actually have to try to do it this time. And there's also some other stuff that I want to try to kind of set up for us to talk about before we get to it, but we can talk about that offline. So if you guys are good, I don't know if Cam, you want to share anything else about what you thought about the game before we close out?
No, just my takeaway is just it's a fun game. Because, like you said, you pretty much know the entire game you're in for in the first, like, hour or two that you're playing it. You know that Vati's the bad guy. You got to go get the elements, and then, like you said, it's just oh, hey, it's over here. Go grab it. Oh, okay. Hey, I hear that guy knows where the next one is. Oh, he does? Hey, where is it? It's over there. Oh, I got this. So it's a really fun game, but it's not too deep for a Zelda game. You know, it doesn't encapsulate the stages of grief like Majora's Mask or something like that. It's a fun game.
Right. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to close this out then. Y'all, thank you for listening to our episode of A for No, B for Yes. This has been the finale of the Minish Cap. I hope you can join us for the next season as well as our interim episode, which will be coming out sometime in the next few weeks. Y'all have a good few weeks. We'll catch you next time on A for No, B for Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Bob Pachi sends his regards.
Did you get all that?